here with two very, very special guests talking about different aspects of today's show. I will be introducing them to you guys in a short time. Just so we know, our show is talking about all the opportunities available to you in further education. A lot of people don't really know what further education is. They get it confused with higher education. So further education is anything college and above. It's more about vocational courses, all about hobby courses, distant learning, and all sorts. So without further ado, we'll start with today's show. I will start off the show with some facts about Leicester and our population and where we are with the educational side of things. So Leicester, unfortunately, has been described as the 5th worst educated local authority in the country, broken down by areas such as Spinney Hills, which is on the high end of 45%, and it's very heavily populated by Muslims. So learning and kind of getting knowledge is a very important part of Islam. So kind of going off on that, a lot of people who have come to these countries and have come to, areas that are in Spinney Hills, Highfields, Belgrave, all have kind of migrated from different countries and not necessarily have English as a first language, which is where our first guest comes in. So we've got Pamela Sargent, who will be talking to us about ESOL and the big question about ESOL, because you always hear it and you don't really know what it is or the actual details of it. So, Pam, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, yes, my name's Pam Sargent. I'm a Programme Area Manager for ESOL at Leicester College, and I'm based in Highfields on Connaught Street.
Oh, not far.
Not too just far. Just up the road. Yes.
Did you walk up today?
No, I actually drove because I've got another meeting afterwards.
Oh, that's all good. But welcome to the show, Pam. Thank you for giving us your time. So let's start with the basics. What is ESOL?
ESOL is English for speakers of other languages. Okay. So anybody that comes to the UK doesn't speak English, they can join an ESOL class.
Well, that kind of explains it, right?
Yes,
to the T.
The ESOL
because
part.
You always hear it as a word like ESOL, never kind of explained as to what each letter is explaining. So, in terms of ESOL, you've explained that it's as a second language. What kind of opportunities are there for people to kind of learn the English?
Okay, yeah. We teach English for people to live and work in the UK.
Okay.
So if you need it for talking to the school teachers, going to the doctors, for your job, out in the community, we teach English to second language people, and they can achieve a certificate as well.
Okay.
We do accredited courses as well.
So speaking of these courses, are they paid courses? Do you have to pay a fee? What's the process like to be onto these courses?
You apply for the courses online. The cost for them, there is some benefit.
Okay.
If you're on benefits, there is some eligibility for that. So you may get cheaper classes, it may be free classes. We do also, if you're from out of the UK, you would need to have a fee status assessment. It's a Home Office requirement that they would need to have a fee status assessment.
Okay.
Which is a short assessment done over at Abbey Park.
Oh, perfect. I was just going to ask you, you already answered my next question. Yeah. I was going to ask, is this something that happens at the college? Where can they kind of go and have that done? So.
Yeah. Students need to apply first, and then we can book them in for a fee status assessment to check out their status in the UK.
Oh, that sounds good. Speaking of kind of the course and the application, what is the actual course entails? Can you tell us more about the duration side of it? What can you expect in the course?
ESOL at Leicester College is one of the biggest ESOL departments in the East Midlands.
Okay.
So we're a very big department. We've got classes at Abbey Park, Freeman's Park, St Margaret's, the main campuses, but we also do them at City Skills on Charles Street. We have them out in the community where I'm based in Highfields on Connaught Street.
Okay.
We have them in the Belgrave area on Ross Walk as well.
So all the hubs, there's something accessible.
We're spread across the city. We also do them in community centres, schools. We've done them in places of worship as well.
Oh, wow.
And we teach 16 to 18-year-olds at Abbey Park. We've got a group of 300 there.
Okay.
And then the adults are spread across the...
So it's kind of like divided into like the 16 to 18 and then adults going forward.
Yes,
there's
19
there's
plus.
no age limits or...
No, we've had a student who was 100.
Oh, wow.
Yes, one of my students in Highfield, she was 100 years old.
Wow. See, it's never too late,
never
is
forget
it?
Ramaben.
Oh, Ramaben. Well, shout out to Ramaben then. Wow, that's really interesting you say that. Sorry, you were saying, I think I interrupted.
Sorry, it's okay. We have classes that are from pre-entry up to level 2.
Okay.
So we have all the different levels. Students would come and they would learn speaking and listening, reading, writing, all ways to communicate.
So it's all 3 different parts. There's
Three
a
different
speaking
parts.
part, a writing, and a listening part.
Reading. No,
Oh,
speaking
reading,
and listening,
okay.
reading and writing. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And then they would kind of learn all aspects of that. And in order to pass the course, they would have to have...
There would be an exam. If they're in an accredited course,
Okay,
they would take an exam and then they'd get a certificate.
Oh, that's perfect. And they can use that certificate. What's kind of like the progression from doing an ESOL course?
From doing an ESOL course, we've had students that have progressed into all the areas of the college.
Okay.
Hospitality, motor vehicle, construction, hair and beauty, every area there is. We've also had students that then go on to university.
Oh, wow.
Students do leave us and go into employment, of course, because they actually learn employability while they're on the course.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So there's different topics that we use when we're delivering English.
Well, it's kind of, you know, in a country like this, it's quite essential to have these skills in order to kind of, like you said, make GP appointments or even, you know, on a day-to-day basis. But it's really interesting you say about the recruitment side of things, because that's one thing I didn't really kind of consider when learning about ESOL, that you can go into those types of... Yeah,
once your English is at, you know, the certain level that's needed to move into a different area, you can, you know, get your wings and fly off.
And fly off, yeah.
Fly to another area of the college. Yeah, we have people that, as they go to employment and also start their own businesses. We love
it. I think Leicester is known for a lot of startup businesses that have just kind of taken on and gone on to like national and international level. So it's really good to have that.
Our courses are, we do them termly.
Yeah.
So they could be 14 weeks, 13 weeks, 10 weeks, depends on the length of the term.
So are they, so like for example, what are the timings of it? Would it be like during the day? Yeah.
Yes, we do daytime, evening, and sometimes on a Saturday.
Oh,
There's
wow.
some classes that...
So you've got different options available.
Yeah, there's different options available. We usually say come to 2 sessions a week.
Okay.
At least.
Just to kind of be on top of everything.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
And
some classes are 1 session a week, but mainly they're 2 sessions a week.
what would kind of happen in a typical class then? What would let's do a day in a life of someone studying ESOL.
Well, they come to class, the teacher would deliver some aspect of communicating through English, and then there'd be activities, tasks. It may be individual tasks, it may be worksheets, there may be group tasks that they do together.
Oh, wow. So you're working on a whole bunch of skills there. So from like individual tasks, leadership, group skills, that's teamwork.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Oh, wow. So you're just getting a whole bunch of skills wrapped up in one course. That's amazing.
So confidence building is part of it as well.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
And that would help with the aspect of applying for a job going forward. That would help
definitely.
with kind of starting your own business, essentially.
Yeah, so it's not just English that the students are learning. As I said, it's life skills of being out there. And
that's a really good way of putting it, Pam.
Yeah.
It is. It's not just English. It's a life skill that you're learning alongside with it.
Yes, because we do citizenship as well, sustainability.
Wow. So you do a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
My next question would be for you, Pam, is for people who are considering, you know, doing ESOL course or, you know, applying for it or looking to get into it. What would be your advice? What would be your kind of like top tips?
The top tips are to you apply online, of course. Just make sure that you're committed to joining a class. when you're offered a class, make sure that the timing of it and everything is suitable for you, because we do have people that accept the course and then they perhaps think, oh no, it's not right for me, which is okay. But yeah, just being focused on your studies, making sure that you study at home as well as doing what you do in class, listening to the radio, watching the TV with subtitles on. They're all skills of learning English.
That's amazing. Like, you don't kind of think about all these like everyday like life activities that can be used to learn a new skill, a language.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
We do some vocational courses within ESOL as well. We do some ESOL and health and social care, which we do from our City Skills Centre. I actually manage that down at the City Skills. And we have an entry 3, a level 1 and a level 2 in health and social care. So the students are learning English alongside learning a vocation as well. And they do a complete assignments, and then they'll get a certificate in health and social care and their English.
So it's 2 qualifications in one course, essentially. I didn't know that.
Yes, and we also do a business and retail course, the same, in Rosswalk.
So would you have to have a certain level of ESOL in order to...
Yes, usually entry 2, entry 3 to actually get onto those courses.
And it's the similar criteria for getting in an eligibility that...
Yes, all the ESOL classes, it's the same eligibility.
Well, that's really interesting. So it's not just... You've got the option of doing English on its own. You've got options of doing English with a health and social care certification, along with a business and retail. And
we also do some shorter courses as well.
Such vocational.
We do ESOL and maths and English, of course. ICT. So you can do a basic ICT or digital skills, and entry 3 or level 1.
Where do these usually take place?
The digital skills are Freeman's, Rosswalk and Highfields. We do those as well.
So we've got different options on what areas they kind of take place. And
it depends where.
The accessibility of it.
That's right. But we also do ESOL and yoga and wellbeing, ESOL and beauty skills, driving theory, sewing machine skills, and we also do GCSE English and maths.
So ESOL really is a gateway to a lot of options available.
Yeah, we're there to help the students get through to where they need to be.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that was a lot of things that we covered about ESOL, and kind of like an eye-opener for me as well, because I literally just considered it as just learning English as like an other language user. But the fact that you can do so with so many other courses and get multiple qualifications while doing one course, it's really good. And life skills, like you said, that you learn along the way.
Yeah, and it's definitely the confidence building. That's, our courses do a lot of that for students.
Well, that's really, really interesting. Pam, do you have any other remarks on ESOL?
Just as it is Ramadan at the moment, I know we do take that into consideration with our students. We try to support their needs because, we realise that, is it day 10 now?
Yeah,
you're into day 10, so it's going to get a little bit harder, but...
1/3 in.
Yes. We do, take those needs into consideration, and also we have reflection rooms. So people, if they want to come in and reflect and pray. Oh,
well, that's good to know. So you
across
kind of
the Highfields, main campuses, and Rosswalk. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much, Pam. You will be here for the rest of the show. Feel free to kind of come in at any point. I'm going to be talking about a little bit of a story to kind of lead us into the next segment of our show. So the next segment is all about kind of upskilling and kind of like going into a career change potentially, and all the opportunities available to you here in Leicester. So the Islamic side of things, so when we were doing research for that, I didn't comprehend the amount of importance it's based on labor and kind of being self-sufficient and being independent and making an earning for yourself. So like in Islam, labor is considered a virtuous deed, and it's kind of obligatory upon someone who's able to do so. So a person has many needs to fulfill, like food, water, living arrangements, if you've got dependents on you and all sorts. And since a person is required to fulfill all these needs for himself and their family, it means that he's obliged to work. And so while working is mandatory, it's also important to understand that providing for oneself and one's family is actually considered an act of worship. So you're actually doing God's work when you're providing for yourself and working for yourself and providing for your family. So once Prophet Muhammad SAW was sitting with his companions, it's a really good story that kind of came in when we were researching. I was like, I have to mention it. So Prophet SAW was sitting with his companions, and they happened to see a young man busy working in early hours of the morning. The companions watched and commented how beneficial it'd be if he put effort into worshipping Allah as much effort he did while he's working and trying to make a living for himself. And the Prophet ﷺ himself said, do not say that, because if he is working to be independent and self-sufficient, it is in the way of Allah. So it is in the way of Islam, and it's in the way of him earning a rightful living for himself. So if he was to carry it on without having any pride, any arrogance, it would be considered a noble act and considered a way of worship to Allah. So from kind of learning the importance of work in Islam, it's highly encouraged to promote growth in society. And I think this story was a good segue for us to introduce our next guest, Carla Smith. Carla currently works at the NHS, and she is the Apprenticeship and Career Development Manager, and is here to discuss a very special government-led SWAP program aimed at offering employment opportunities in the NHS. So Carla, would you like to introduce yourself?
So good afternoon. Yes, I'm Carla, and for credentials, I've been working in the NHS since 2001.
Oh, wow.
So for those that have managed to work that out already, that's a good few years. I started off as a youngster, and I started off with a very good line manager who clearly had career development in his mind to support me, and I've been nurtured, and through that journey I now work in a position where I'm more than happy and privileged to help others in their career through whichever route they decide to take in the NHS.
It's always good to have supportive people behind you, because that really just does encourage growth. It encourages you to kind of push yourself to find a new version of yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. So my work with what we call SWAP. So SWAP is it's a sector-based, in this conversation for the NHS, sector-based programme.
Okay.
And what that means is that the focus during the programme is around the area or the sector that you are pursuing as a career.
Right.
Okay. So there are other SWAP programmes,
yeah,
which I know you'll talk about in a little while. For this particular one, the one I'm involved in is for NHS, and I'll give you a little bit of a statistic before I give you a bit more information.
Oh, we love a good fact, Carla. Go on.
Okay. So there are currently 1.7 million people working for the NHS.
Wow.
And that is in England alone.
1.7 in the NHS. England alone.
Yes. So
let that sink in.
So when you think about how large that is from a world perspective, we're about the fifth, possibly the fourth largest employer in the world.
In the world?
Okay.
Wow.
Give you an idea that how many jobs there might be available. And if I break that down a little further, let's say about 60% of those roles are administrative focused.
That's really interesting you saying that, Carla, because anytime people say, oh, I work in the NHS, it's always an automatic assumption that you're kind of frontline. You're like doctor, nurse, radiographer, sonographer. Yeah. So, wow, so 60% is clinical roles.
Yeah, and when we say clinical, we say hands-on to the patient. So non-clinical, administrative. You could be a radiographer, that's non-clinical.
Okay.
Because the actual doing of the role itself, you're not assessing, you're not diagnosing, but you are practically taking an X-ray, for example.
Oh.
There is absolutely lots of opportunities to work in the NHS, and part of this SWAP programme addresses and has a look at some of those roles. And interestingly, from an NHS perspective, we need people to be coming in from all diversities, all cultures, all ages, to let us know what we need to be doing for the future workforce.
Wow.
You know, it's our future, it's our healthcare system, and we need people to grow with that.
I love how you're bringing it into the personal side of things, because you're right. It's our NHS, it's our future, our healthcare system, and it's about time we invest in it.
Well, this is it. We're all going to need it, aren't we? If we're not already utilising it, we will be utilising it as we get older, possibly. So SWAP really is in 3 parts.
Okay.
And I want to say at this point, it is absolutely a fantastic programme in terms of how it nurtures any age group. Okay, so this is not just for the youngsters, but anybody who might be feeling that, you know, that they've been out of work for a while and they want to get back into work.
Okay.
It's absolutely open to a large amount of people, all diversities, all backgrounds, all circumstances. Okay.
Wow.
And it is in 3 parts. So I'm just going to check my notes just to be absolutely sure.
That's okay.
The training is matched to the roles that you are possibly going to be applying for.
Okay, so you're trained on the role.
You're trained in some of those life skills that Pam's already spoken about. So how to, you know, to communicate.
Okay, yeah.
Communicating effectively to all. So when we think about sometimes of communication, we forget about the non-verbal communication.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that we are addressing those learning needs right from day one, how to communicate with someone who may be hard of hearing or may have a learning disability of some sort, you know, and there are visual clues mostly.
Of course,
sometimes, not always. So they're the life skills and the career skills that the SWAP programme would help teach for people to learn ready for a career.
In the NHS?
In the NHS, I mean, perhaps any role.
Okay,
but clearly there's a high
They're transferable
priority.
skills,
Absolutely,
aren't they?
Absolutely. The second part of SWAP then is around an actual placement. So then taking a little bit of that theoretical knowledge
and kind of throwing you into that environment.
Absolutely. Because theory's absolutely great, isn't it?
Yeah.
But sometimes when we've got people in front of us, we can act a little bit differently, that we'll have some unconscious bias at sometimes. So it's about, again, the transferable skills of that theory into a practical situation. But equally, it offers the person the opportunity to say, yes, I love this.
Yeah.
And I'd like to go further. Or actually, it's not what I thought. And then we can start to look at something else.
It's really interesting you say that, because I never realized it was a placement-based course as well. Because, you know, just kind of going into it, there's different types of learners as well. So there's visual learners, there's actual practical learners. Like I myself, I learn better when I'm physically doing something. Yeah. So to me, that bit really stuck out.
Lovely, yeah. And that's it, isn't it? Everybody's different and everybody's unique, and we need to address that as we do. The third part then is around the top tips.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a feeling you might ask about top tips.
You're already ahead of me, Carla, but carry on.
So it's a little bit of top tips on how to secure an interview, you know, working through your application. And one of the biggest challenges that I find, or people are telling me are their challenges, are the qualifications.
That's so true.
Okay, so it's lovely to hear, you know, from Pam that there is a lot of support out there to help with qualifications and understanding the equivalency of those qualifications. But equally, not every job requires a specific qualification. The NHS in some respects will work with the candidates to get them where they need to be for a job that they would like to be in.
Wow. That's a whole new perspective, isn't it? It's a whole new way of looking into a career change, like you said, or even upskilling what you currently know.
Absolutely.
And I love how the two link together, because, like, you know, you mentioned the ESOL courses with the health and social care aspect.
Yeah.
But then we've got the other course which kind of goes into the placement. And I love how you mentioned that maybe it might not be for you, but you can help and, you know, figure out what might work and what part of it you like and you don't like.
And the jobs themselves, as I say, a lot of people think about the NHS as a doctor or a nurse. You know, think about social media.
Yes.
You know, think of the great stuff that you're doing today. IT, digital analysis, robotics, automation, all these lovely things that are happening in our future. The jobs are available in the NHS. People just don't see the NHS the same as they would some of the private industries.
That's so true.
And actually, they're wonderful jobs, absolutely wonderful.
I'm loving the whole new light that you're shining on these NHS roles and jobs that are actually available, because there is a massive stigma of it just being healthcare professionals and that's it. But you know, when you actually go down to the nitty gritty of it, it's like, oh yeah, IT, marketing, social media, events, like you need all these roles for it to, at the end of the day, it is an organization and it needs all these roles to run.
Absolutely. And the SWAT program, one of the benefits of the SWAT program is for those that are interested in joining and onboarding that program, they can still keep their benefits while they're during that process.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So there's absolutely no barrier why somebody would not be able to join the program. The circumstances are considered, and things like travelling to interviews, you know, the funds are there through this government initiative.
Wow.
To help people understand what do they really want with their career and how do you get there.
To me, it just sounds like a whole massive amount of support and kind of like pushing you really to get to the max potential that you have. And you know, and I love the fact that you talked about job interviews and preparing for that, because that people a lot of the times get hung up on the qualification side of things and be like, I need to get that to get the job, I need to get this grade, I need to get that grade. But then when it's actually you applying for the job, it's actually the interview that makes or breaks it. Because yeah, you've got the qualification, but can you actually, you know, talk the talk or walk the walk? But it's so nice to see that you put importance to that aspect of the whole journey, really.
Yeah, that the whole person, the whole transferable skills, and the nurturing me from day one entering SWAT program right through to all those lovely life skills, people skills, and then going through to application, understanding, top tips, getting the interview, securing a job. The success rate is good. From the program itself, if we take a focus on personal success, building confidence, learning more about communication, getting to a stage of career that you're happy with, you know, that fulfillment is massive. If then people decide to pursue a career, you've then got other elements of your own health, wealth and well-being, because there'll be no finances hopefully coming through, socialisation, the networking. So personally, I'd say there's a really good, you know, 95% success rate.
Wow.
From conversion from SWAP into an actual role,
Yeah.
I'm going to say at least a good quarter people will experience the world of interviews.
That's do you know what? That's a really good high number of rate, especially, you know, like we're talking about it. So in terms of kind of people feeling unskilled, like especially in the Spinney Hill area, almost 45% of the residents labelled themselves as unqualified. And that's more than a third. Is said the same for the Braunston Park area, which is 35%. Crown Hills comes at 33.8%, and so on. So kind of giving people the confidence to not feel this way and to be able to kind of be like, no, but I can do this. Like, I've got the support to do this. That's just amazing, I think.
And I think people undersell themselves sometimes with life skills, don't they?
They do.
And life skills are absolutely a must, aren't they?
I think a lot of people just kind of overlook them because they're just too used to having a certain... they don't really actually realise it's a life skill.
Yeah.
That's...
And I'm sure the SWAP teachers, as well as our teachers within ESOL and across Leicester College, the teachers are there to support you with however way they can.
Yeah.
Not just to stand there and teach you English and plan your lessons. They're also there to give support whichever way they can.
Yeah.
And that's what you need, isn't it? You need your people, you need your network, you need people to be there.
Yeah.
And if we think about the population and the population health, there are certain cultures or diversities that will have their own health challenges.
That's so true,
So we need people from those different cultures, those different diversities, and any sort of protected characteristics such as age. They need to come and work for the NHS so that we can understand what is we need to do for them for the future. Kind
of bridging the gap, isn't it, between them and the different kind of cultures and communities that are present throughout, especially like Leicester being a very diverse city. So that's incredible. So you talked a lot about the SWAT program, and I love it. Can we talk a bit about kind of like what's the eligibility criteria, like getting in? What's the process?
Okay, so for the SWAT process, there is an application. It's through a government website or through the Department of Work and Pensions, or you could possibly contact Leicester College themselves, and they will give you that formal process.
Okay.
So once you've been successful in that application, and again the support is there to help you apply, you then go on a journey of around 12 weeks. And
Wow.
it's during those 12 weeks that you're learning all these life and transferable skills, understanding the roles available within the NHS SWAT programme, and then having that nurturing through. So it's a good chunk of time, you know, it's a quarter of a year when we look at it.
Yeah.
But that's about the personal development time as well.
But it's not just one thing you're learning in it, is
Absolutely
it?
not,
It's
no.
like you said, life skills, transferable skills, interview preparation, and it's actually a placement as well. So when you put all that into 12 weeks almost seems short, don't they?
Yeah. And just so you keep your benefits while you're on the programme. So
So you're still getting
Absolutely.
whatever income you would.
absolutely.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm loving all these new government initiatives, especially the SWAT
Absolutely.
program.
Yeah, cool. And if I can tell you about the benefits of the NHS.
Please,
it's like
I
the
was
time.
just about to
Yeah.
ask you. I was like, I think the most common one we know is the blue light card, which everyone knows, but I'm pretty sure there's way more for you to tell us about.
It's a fantastic place to work, and I know I may be a little biased, but you've got your training, your learning, your development for life, really.
Yes.
You understand, particularly if you are employed from Leicester to work in a Leicester hospital, you get to know how the Leicester healthcare works.
That's so true.
You know, you've got the communication then back with your your friends, your family, and you're part of that growing healthcare in your own community.
Yeah.
We've got the equality, the diversity, the inclusions agenda, so it really is a great place to work, and all of the wellbeing. I mean, most NHS organisations have their own wellbeing programme.
Oh, wow.
And that can include anything from therapy, counselling, and that might also extend out to family members.
So
Your savings are there indirectly from other areas, and then, yes, of course, the blue light, where you can get your discounts.
well, that honestly, I think everything you said just sold me. And if I was to go back, I would probably most likely go down that route. We will come back to you, but we do have a question for you, Pam. How do I become an ESOL trainer? Being an ESOL trainer, what's the commitment like? So we've had someone ask us that.
Okay. To work as an ESOL teacher, you
Yeah.
have to make a college application. If you see any vacancies online, you do need to have a teaching qualification.
So that's
Or
PG.
working toward, PGCE or something similar, or working towards it, or higher. And also an ESOL subject specialist.
Okay.
Some form of qualification in that area for teaching, language.
So first you would need your teaching qualification, and then you need to kind of specialise in the ESOL aspect of things.
Yeah, and to have experience also of working.
Oh, okay. So we're working in that ESOL environment.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I hope that answered your question. Thank you for answering that, Pam. Back to you, Carla. I'm still mesmerised by the SWAT program, and I think it's such a great opportunity. And especially, I think after COVID, a lot of it kind of is needed, like the necessity of this program, because I think for like 2-3 years we were in like our own bubble, we were isolated from everyone, and I think we kind of undermined ourselves for the longest amount of time. So to be able to go back into such a big force, like you said, and have support through every step of the way, it's actually incredible. And the fact that people are there to help you, and literally from the minute you apply to the minute you pass, and then help potentially get a job.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know sort of that the pandemic had its, negative focus, but from a positive side, it showed the NHS different ways and new ways of working.
Wow.
So a lot of NHS roles are potentially roles that could be done from home or
Remote
home-based.
roles.
Absolutely.
I personally think that's the best thing that came out of COVID. Awesome. I mean, I do hybrids. I do work from home and work in the office. So I do really appreciate the fact that I can do my role from home.
And it helps, doesn't it, with adjustments and flexibilities, childcare, people that are caring for people at home. All of these healthcare needs, that are extended out to families and communities. When you can and you do have the opportunity to work from a hybrid position, or even a fully work from home position.
Yeah.
Digital is classic, isn't it? IT, finance, all these marketing can be done from a computer at home. And so that's one of the benefits and real goodness about working with the NHS too, is those adaptions and flexibilities in our own way of working for us as people.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I always assume that, you know, you work in the NHS, you have to go to the hospital to work.
Yeah, not always.
It's always good to kind of like have that stigma lifted. I know you can work from home, you can work from a cafe if you want.
Yeah. And you do see people doing that, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's lovely to see them socialising. But equally, because of the sort of, I suppose, the digital focus and the driver of all this technology, a lot of people are wanting to go back into a caring role. They want to now start to see people face to face. They want to do a little bit more hands-on or talking therapies.
That's so interesting.
Lots of work in coordinating activities for the young and for the elder generation, and they're all absolutely accessible for most people. It's just people are not aware.
Yeah.
And SWAP absolutely helps us to understand what roles can be done.
That's and I'm so glad we're covering this today, because I'm learning so much myself. Like, I know it's mentioned, people hear about this program, you've got government program, but to actually go into the depths of it, it's very useful.
Very interesting.
And I'm so glad we're covering this. So in terms of this SWAP program, Carla, when was it kind of introduced? Like, what's the background of it?
Wow. Okay. Not sure of the exact date.
That's
I
fine.
personally have been involved for a good 5 years.
Wow.
So I know it's been around for at least, 8 years.
Wow.
Okay. And I think it's just getting more and more
Only
momentum
now it's picking up momentum. Yeah.
Because I think of the diversity and the flexibilities that we've been able to put in place for it. And more NHS organisations are onboarding, and equally, I know you'll talk about a few more as well later.
Yeah, but I'm glad we've got people like you talking about it as well. So what would your advice be to people who are interested into doing these courses? What would you say? What would kind of like be your push to them?
Okay, so for me and my background, I'm a life and a career coach, and I would absolutely say to anyone, have a think about where you are right now in your life and where do you want to be, and be realistic in terms of finances, in terms of your emotions, what you cannot cope with at this point in your life. Because if we think about an NHS patient, we're trying to reduce the patients. So clearly we want people to be in a more positive health.
Right.
When you do decide that the job is for you, then you know that it is for you and it's going to be a positive experience. So have a think about where you want to be, what your dream job is, and then come back to the SWAT programme or have a look on the NHS site and see what jobs are available to support that. And then it's waking up and going into work because you're passionate about that work and they're passionate about that job.
And I think that passion is so important. Yeah. And I love how you kind of framed it, be like, where do you really see yourself? Like, can you, why are you doing this? Or why do you want to do this? Yeah. And I think that's almost sometimes people don't really ask these questions to themselves because they're like, I need a job, I need money, I need financial help, I need this, I need to pay for my mortgage, bills, all sorts. Yeah. But
it's... Oh, sorry.
No, carry on,
equally, we've got the wonderful world of apprenticeships as well now. And apprenticeships have opened up so many doors for people. And, the conception or the misconception that they were only available up to a certain age is completely gone now.
I am so glad you mentioned that, because just the program we did last year was just specifically on apprenticeships, and my colleague Wajeeda and my our manager Hannah, they were talking about how they did an apprenticeship while they were working. And you're right, there is a massive stigma about it just being for college leavers or people who don't want to do A levels. It is coming into light that no, you can do it while you're working, you can do it while you already have a job, or you could do it as a completely different career change.
Yeah, absolutely. And the joy of apprentices and apprenticeships is that you are learning while you're earning.
Wow.
So you are
I love that. You're learning while you're earning.
And the maximum age is 99 before anybody asks the
99. I mean, we had a 100-year-old ESOL student and a 99-year-old apprentice.
People are living longer, yes.
I'm loving that. I'm loving how people are getting back into education, not letting age be a barrier.
Yeah. So anything that people think, I wish I could have done that.
Yeah.
Now is a good time.
Oh, well, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Carla. Thank you so much, Pam. You guys are still here, but I will be kind of wrapping this up in a little bit. We've only got 5 minutes left of this show, but I will be talking about, like you mentioned, the other SWAT programs we've got available. So, the first and foremost, it's kind of the rail SWAT program. So this course is actually designated for anyone who wishes to work as a railway engineer. Wow. And I know, Pam, you were talking about you were actually There,
I did actually visit it a couple of years ago.
wow. So what was that like, the experience?
It was really good because they were all putting all on, you know,
The
the
gear.
safety clothes and everything that they needed to go and work on the track.
Wow. So it's more about kind of the hands-on type of the engineering of being on the railway, not the other bits. So we've got that course available. We also have a swap program in security. So it's a 6-week program that will fast track you into a new career to help you gain an award into what you need to be working as, like a door supervisor or private security industry level 2. So once you've gained this award, you can register and apply for your SIA badge and the license you need in order to be working those roles. So it's like you mentioned, all these swap programs come with a whole bunch of life skills, a whole bunch of transferable skills. The course that Carla was talking about, the NHS swap program. So we've got the start date of it being on the 11th of April. So that will be a 12-week course. I'm sure we've got the next date, but not just available just yet. But you do have time from now up until the 11th of April to kind of apply for that role and go for it. We've also got the rail engineering program that's going to be taking place on the 15th of April. But Carla, let it slip to me that there is a waiting list. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about that?
I heard indirectly that there is a waiting list
through the grapevine.
To be an apprentice as a railway driver.
Wow, so it's very much in demand, isn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't think of it being that popular at that point.
Yeah, so get your applications in, at least start the conversations, I would say.
Yeah, that's so true. And a lot of these courses and these swap programs and stuff, we also have a city skills centre based on Charles Street. I know, Pam, you mentioned it quite briefly at the start. Yeah. But the purpose of this city skills centre is to provide and deliver programs to support adults into employment. So kind of what we've been talking about throughout the show, really, and then kind of getting into employment, getting skills and like all these transferable ones. So we've got 8.1% of 16 to 64-year-olds in Leicester and Leicestershire have no qualification compared to the 6.6 nationally. So we're over the national percentage. Wow. So parts of the city have very high areas of deprivation in comparison to other areas, which is kind of like the gross weekly wage in a local area is 9% lower than the average gross in Great Britain as a whole. So these are some scary statistics I'm saying, but we do have a solution to those statistics. We've got the swap programs, we've got ESOL courses with other qualifications. So it's just like we're giving a problem, but we're giving it with a solution. Absolutely. If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
I know the City Skills work very closely with, JCP and DWP, along with other local employers and welfare providers, NHS being one of them. Yep. We've got Leicestershire Partnership Trust as well, along with just local employers. We've got programs that are designed to fit into a 4 to 6 week full-time study. So it's kind of like a fast track way of like, okay, I don't want to work in this, or I want to work in this, but I don't have the qualification to do that. So it is more like, okay, I can sacrifice a month and a half to focus on this and then be at a better place than I'm right now.
Before you buy, isn't it?
Isn't it? Like you said, I'm loving all these slogans you're coming out with, Carla. Yeah, so we've got all these areas and provisions available. Everything we mentioned today will be on our website. So, or if you don't find anything, feel free to call in to us and ask for a certain department or education and all sorts. Last but not the least, I do have very exciting news. So we've got our very first big iftar happening on campus tomorrow. We have absolutely got confirmation this morning that we have sold out the event. So we are expecting around 250 people to come to our campus and break fast with us, essentially. So it's just, I'm so glad to see this inclusive initiative from Leicester College and to kind of be a part of it taking place. We've had lots of sponsors that have kind of worked with us to make this event happen, along with speakers and local charities coming in and supporting. So I am very, very much excited to talk about that. I hope those that are listening will be coming. If not, we will be doing something soon, bigger and better, and doing more inclusive events in the future. I just want to thank you both so much for coming today. I hope you had a good time.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thanks for having
Your
us.
knowledge was so insightful, and I am so glad that we are discussing about all these important opportunities that are available to anyone of any age, literally from 16 to 100. It was really, really great having this conversation with you guys, and I am so glad we're able to do so on a show like this and in a place like Leicester. And that's pretty much it. If you have any other questions, everyone that's listening, feel free to get in touch with us.